Hello and welcome to the Everything Considered podcast with me, April, your host. Today I'm joined by Sandra Lee. Sandra is an intuitive healer, life opportunity catalyst. She's contributed chapters to 3 best-selling books, The Energy Medicine Solution, Abundance by Design, Stop Overworking, Start Overflowing. She has 30 years of intuitive energetic service, 10 years of human design analysis. She does Biofield Tuning. She also does sessions on a variety of topics, including neuroplasticity, food and nutrient density, insulin resistance and inflammation, metabolic flexibility, sleep, you name it. She is also the designer of the Inner Gem Shine cards. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. I'm so happy to have you here. It's been a while since we connected. I know Sandra from the time that we worked on the book Stop Overflowing or Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing, this one. We were both contributors to that book and was really happy to get to know another 3-5 manifester and, learn about her story and how she came to human design. But we were talking a little bit about purpose earlier. And I wanted to hear kind of the story behind your recent realizations about that.
Before I get to that, I always love talking with you so
Oh,
much.
me too.
And we've done a couple of interviews and it's just been magical. So thank you. It's wonderful to be on with you again.
It's a pleasure.
So understanding purpose is a really complex thing, but it's also very simple. And as human design specialists, you and I both know that blueprint of where the planets are at the time you're born says so much
Yes.
about your purpose.
Yes.
And it gives people like this aha moment when they realize, oh, this aspect of who I am that I just think is part of normal. Doesn't everybody do that? It's actually really unique and special.
Yes.
About me. And that's just one of the tremendous gifts that human design perspective provides for people. I also do biofield tuning using tuning forks and sound for healing and working with people's energy field. And I was doing biofield tuning one day, working with a hologram that represents the person I'm working with.
Right.
Just happened to be working with somebody on Zoom, so they're not with me here in person. And I started seeing the human design chart laid over the biofield. And I realized that I'm doing them together. There's a lot of different healing modalities, thousands and thousands of different healing modalities.
Right.
And ultimately, I believe they're all working with the same thing. They're all working with what's true about humanity, everybody, and different ways of doing that, different ways of focusing healing. So it's like if you have this is my issue, this is the thing I'm struggling with. There's thousands of facets to it.
Right.
So many different facets to it. And if I look at it from a human design perspective, it can provide a tremendous amount of healing. But anytime I work on something from just one direction, the person, if they're stuck, they can kind of wiggle out of it.
Right.
If I do just counseling, the person can just kind of like escape.
Right.
But when you approach it from many different directions, it's really hard for the part of me that resists to get away. And so I like approaching things from different directions. So if I am helping someone heal from the perspective of human design, it's actually going to help their chakras.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to help their physical body. It's going to help all of the different aspects of who they are. If
Right.
I do something from biofield tuning, it's going to help someone's expression of their life and the things that they're struggling with that we look at through the human design chart.
Right.
So anytime I work on one of these things, I'm working on all of them.
Okay.
So I love doing human design and biofield tuning together
Yes.
and seeing people's energetic purpose as shown in their human design chart in their energy field, their biofield.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the day that I started seeing the purpose in the biofield, there's a wonderful story. I was working on a coach of mine. This
Mm-hmm.
was on Zoom. And I started seeing like beams of love coming from her heart and going to her child. Beams of
Mm-hmm.
love coming from her heart and going to one of her clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it looks to me like you send bundles of love from your heart to the
Mm-hmm.
people in your life.
Right.
And matter of factly, she said, oh, yeah, I do that all the time.
Mm.
And I realized that that was like a fundamental aspect
Mm.
of how she expresses her purpose. And
Right.
it's in her human design chart as well. And when asking people, they're doing sales or marketing and they say, okay, so what is your purpose?
Right.
How is it you serve?
Yeah.
And people say, oh, I'm really good at this and I do this. What they don't usually get is the foundational pieces,
Mm-hmm.
the things like love or safety, the
Mm-hmm.
things that the human design chart shows them,
Mm-hmm.
that foundational aspect of who you are and how you serve that's so obvious. It's like, oh my gosh, well, yeah. So when we share it with them through looking at their human design chart, this is like, light bulb moment.
Right. Right.
Oh, that's my purpose. It's not
Wow.
necessarily all of the purpose, but it's that's my purpose. So isn't that wonderful that we help people
Yes.
to
I
do
think
that?
that is wonderful. Would you say so when we're talking about purpose, everybody's looking for, and we're getting just a tiny bit of feedback or like coming back from your mic there. I don't know if it's a sound thing, but I just wanted to let you know. But question is, this is what I think about, like when people come to me and ask about purpose, they're usually wondering about something like a job or something like very specific, when really probably what's important is to understand the underlying values and what is meaningful to them, and then the specifics come later. But I think what you're alluding to, or what I'm grasping, is that you're looking for an underlying value or theme in that person's, what's important to them, like what they're here for on a soul level, and that translates to everything else. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And that's, again, such value that we provide for people
Mhm.
looking at their human design chart,
Okay.
or for you, the gene keys as well, right? You
Right.
are looking at those foundational aspects of who they are in
Mhm.
all aspects of their life,
Okay.
24/7. No matter
Yes.
what they are doing, they are contributing these gifts that are just like the basis of humanity.
Right. Right.
Love, helping people, having vision,
Mhm.
starting things, finishing things, the sorts
Mhm.
of energies that we talk to people about in the human design chart.
Right.
And so that's just the foundation of
Mhm.
who you, April, are. It's
Mhm.
the contribution you're making.
Right. Right.
And then I started seeing this purpose on beyond personal level,
Mhm.
started seeing it on a universal evolutionary
Okay.
level. You want to hear the story about how that started happening?
Yes, please.
Because
Absolutely.
it kind of blew my mind, right?
Okay.
And so it's like, you and I have talked about near death experience
Mhm.
and the sorts of guidance and message and wisdom that comes from that broader picture.
Mhm. Yes.
So I started seeing people's purpose in that kind of broader perspective. I was taking a Universal White Time Gemstone healing class
Mm.
from Bradford Tilden. It's wonderful. I love the gemstone healing, and Bradford's terrific. And he said, ask your guides.
Mm.
When you have a question, ask your guides. Don't ask me, the teacher, ask your guides.
Mm.
And I hadn't been actually actively asking my
Mm-hmm.
guides for guidance. I'm always intuitive. I always receive input, and I just knew that I was guided, but I wasn't actually asking
Mm-hmm.
for guidance. And one day I was working with somebody, and my guides give me like specific words and language to
Mm-hmm.
use.
Mm-hmm.
And they were being kind of obnoxious and intrusive. They were like being very demanding, say this and use this
Yeah.
language. And I said, are you telling me that I should be asking you, my guides? And they was like, yes. So I started doing that. I just like acknowledged, okay, I'm just going to ask. And then I started seeing the universal evolutionary perspective
Mm-hmm.
of people's purpose.
Mm.
So it's like I'm not just making a difference in my life and my family's life and my community's life and my client's life. There is a universal, like big picture reason
Right.
for me to be here.
Yes.
And it just it kind of shocked me a little bit that I was starting to see people or their their struggles
Mm-hmm.
or their work or their projects from this is serving the evolution of the universe.
Right.
It's like, wow.
That's mind-blowing.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
Yeah.
I get when you speak about this, I think of like a beehive and how I don't know how they know it. I mean, but they just do. Like everybody's got a particular role and they just live it out flawlessly. They work together to accomplish these great things. And I think that we all are like one collective consciousness and no one is unnecessary. No, everybody's needed to fulfill the greater purpose. And sometimes that doesn't, from where we sit, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But like you said, from a broader perspective, it's really kind of perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
And
hard to see when you're in the muck.
we help people see that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I know, I've been doing human design now for 12 years,
Hmm.
and I still get stuck. Stuff still comes up in life,
Right.
and I need somebody else to look at my chart and help me gain perspective
Right.
because I'm too close to myself and my stuff and even my chart
Hmm.
to be able to see it clearly.
Yes.
And so having other people to be able to provide that outside of my head perspective
Hmm.
enables us because I still have, oh, wow, that's what that means in my chart.
Right.
Okay, I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is important because it's hard to, when you're inside the vehicle, to necessarily understand what that looks like from the outside because you're in it. And it is helpful to have someone look at your chart and give you some perspective. I mean, even today, like, I mean, of course, you and I do that. That's part of our profession. We give other people readings by analyzing their body graph, right? But I will oftentimes read other readers or analysts' ideas about my particular design because even though I know it logically, I don't necessarily fully understand it. And
Mm-hmm.
having that kind of feedback is very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I am doing Biofield Tuning, I see where the energy flows
Hmm.
and where the energy gets stuck.
Okay.
So I believe that for myself, my body, my mind, the things that I'm up to, to go smoothly, the energy needs to be flowing from the
Mm-hmm.
earth through the body and at the top of the head,
Mm-hmm.
and from God, the universe, through in the flow. So it's
Right.
like being, to me, that's what I call being grounded, right?
Mm,
Being
okay.
in that energetic flow.
Right.
When I get confused or afraid or resistant or stuck in some way,
Mm-hmm.
with the biofield tuning, I can see it's like, oop, the energy gets stuck.
Okay.
Instead of flowing, it gets stuck somewhere in the body, stuck somewhere in the biofield.
Right.
The person is not able to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, helping people look at my life issues,
Mm-hmm.
see it from the perspective of the chart,
Mm-hmm.
and then see how that life issue, the struggle, is affecting me energetically, and then facilitating that being able to return to flowing.
So you're experiencing that when you're working with another person is like dissonance when you're using the tuning forks, like something is wrong with the frequency or the frequency is not in its highest expression. Is that what you're kind of picking up?
I can only tell you how I see it, how
Okay.
it looks to me.
Okay.
So when I started doing body work, I would put my hands on somebody and say I'm working on their shoulder, and I can see that there's a block in their back.
Mm,
I
okay.
can see where the energy is not flowing through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes it's like it's just stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's chaotic.
Okay.
And also making connections with the emotions, the
Mm-hmm.
traumas, the stresses, the issues that are stored in the body.
Okay.
Okay. I believe that everything that has ever happened to me
Mm-hmm.
stored in my body and in my energy field.
Right.
So I can see what's stored and where it gets stuck.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can see where the flow gets stopped.
Yes.
So in that example I just gave, I'm working on somebody's shoulder and I can see there's something going on with their lower back.
Okay.
So we can look at, well, what sort of life issues relate to the lower back?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fear, danger, safety issues,
Mm-hmm.
um, work,
Mm-hmm.
right? All of these different issues can be stored in the lower back as well as many others.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, is there something going on in your life
Mm-hmm.
that is affecting these lower back issues that I
Mm-hmm.
can see there's this stuckness going on
Mm-hmm.
in your back or in your hip? You're not moving forward. Are you stuck?
Mm-hmm.
All these different things, right? So
Right.
it's like if somebody has those things going on in their life, there may be human design aspects
Mm-hmm.
that we can provide guidance for them in that issue,
Mm-hmm.
and then working with the biofield and the
Yeah.
energy in their field.
I think that's, the somatic part of this is really important. I mean, in terms of doing, and I call it shadow work. That's what I primarily do, but we deal a lot with the psyche, but oftentimes we don't address how the body reflects what's going on in the psyche, the soul, the spirit. And what you're talking about it with combining, human design, you're getting kind of a map of what the default settings are of that individual. And then when you're doing the somatic work, you're picking up on dissonance or some sort of blocked energy flow where the body is storing some sort of a conflict and helping break it up with the sound and energy work. And I think
Yes,
that's really crucial because we can't ignore that the body is part of our existence here on earth. And it's an incredible communicator. Like it has a lot of wisdom for us if we're willing to tap in and listen.
absolutely. I look at it that symptoms are my body's way of getting my attention.
Mm-hmm.
There's something going on here, and you need to pay attention to this.
Mm-hmm.
The only way my beingness has to communicate that with me is to get my attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's symptoms.
Yes. The stiff neck is saying something about something that's out of alignment with who you are, in your highest expression. The low back is saying the same thing. whatever these processes are really communications. It's reframing the uh, dis-ease process as intricately being connected to how we make meaning out of that in the body, how the body is, Louise Hay did a lot of work on this, and of course, I studied German New Medicine, and so there's a lot of there's a lot of different lenses to look at this, but it all boils down to the body as communication.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, in German New Medicine, he took this life trauma results in this
Hmm.
issue in this area of the body and this area of the brain. So
Yes.
it's like tying them together.
Yes. Yes, it's similar, but from more of like he actually did CT scans and could connect certain areas in the brain to certain parts of the body that were, having issue. But Louise Hay did the same thing in a lot of her books. Whether you arrive at it from a more left brain or right brain, it seems like it's communicating the same thing. Like we cannot escape the fact, and we don't want to, that the body is the great communicator, that there's a lot to learn from it if we'll pay attention, as opposed to just trying to shut it down. Because what I mean, if we shut it down, say you know you detect some sort of problem, you're working on me, and I decide that I'm not interested in resolving that, I want to repress it. I mean, the body has to do what?
Go deeper.
Yeah, go deeper and louder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have this, perspective of the medical system,
Hmm.
right? You have a pain, take a pill.
Right.
And your consciousness says, hey, I've been trying to get her to pay attention to something, but
Hmm.
she's numbing the pain. I
Right.
got to find another way. And
Yeah.
so it has to get louder.
Yeah.
The signal has to get bigger to really make me pay attention to it.
Yes.
So, for those of you watching or listening to this, it's like when you have a symptom, it's trying to get your attention.
Hmm.
If you pretend it's not there or you take a pill to make it go away, it's like, hey, I have to get her attention. I'm going
Yes.
to whap you with a bigger hammer to get you to pay attention. So, yeah,
Yes. And there's some symbology involved in that, like, the low back not feeling supported, not feeling, and related to financial things, like, oh, get off my back, or, it's a lot, it's a burden to carry, or, so it seems like to me, it's like the subconscious, which communicates in symbols, is producing, the symbol, and the body's like, okay, how do I interpret the symbol you're giving me? And then it gives you some sort of, you know, um, oh, I'm so, what is the neck? Not being able to see another perspective, possibly, or I can't, the knee maybe not wanting to move forward with something, or not being able to bend. It's so interesting to me.
and I see all of those things in the biofield.
Hmm.
And when I am working on someone, it also shows me, the biofield also shows me what's connected to what.
Okay.
So to go back to that example of working on somebody's shoulder, oh,
Hmm.
this issue that you're having with your shoulder, symptoms you're
Hmm.
having in your shoulder, connects to your lower back, and it connects to your foot, and
Yes.
it connects to feeling stuck and you're not moving forward and you're afraid of not having enough money.
Yes.
And so all of these pressures are on your shoulders,
Oh,
responsibilities.
yes.
So it's like bringing people's conscious awareness to those people, to those
Yes.
pieces.
Yeah.
Because when people say, oh, my shoulder hurts, they think, what did I do this week that caused my shoulder to hurt?
Right.
They don't make the connection to, oh, well, maybe I'm feeling worried about what's going on at work
Hmm.
and Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? And how am I going to feed my family?
Yeah.
That's what's in my shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay. With conscious awareness of it, then that person is able to release that and have it flow more.
Right. To resolve that conflict, or meet their own need, because the body's just asking for help in a certain area. It's funny because I'm a body worker as well. And I think it's been 20 years ago now. I had a client that had certain trigger points in her upper back, and she named them after her ex-husband. And it, but it was even then, I wasn't even in this ball field, or I wasn't here where we are now. But I made that connection. She made that connection just intuitively, knowing that it was the emotional issues that she was having that was, and how she was dealing with it, or not, I should say, not dealing with it, that was producing the tension. Like she was speaking it, we were laughing about it like it was funny, but in reality, that was a really crucial first step in like discerning that, oh, there is a connection to what's going on in my life that is causing conflict, that is resulting in this symptom. And that was kind of, even though it was kind of a funny moment, it was kind of a bit of a life-changing one for me, because it really kind of woke me up to this. We're completely connected. Everything's working together, for us. She wasn't seeing it that way, obviously. um, but it's really for us because the body is looking for some sort of resolution, and it's on our side, because it knows that whatever circumstances are going on are not, really good for us. They're causing us to not live authentically, and it wants us to shift from that space to a space of living authentically and clearly and aligned.
So let's talk about this example of this client of yours
Yeah.
from the perspective of the biofield.
Okay.
Okay. So I believe that everything that ever happens to me is stored in my physical body
Mm-hmm.
and in my energy field, my aura, my biofield.
Right.
So imagine that I have balls of unresolved traumatic energy in
Mm-hmm.
my field associated with things that happened with my ex-husband.
Right.
Okay. So it's like there's all of these balls in my energy field,
Mm-hmm.
and I am not consciously paying attention to them.
Right. Right.
But these are all things that happened between me and my ex husband, and they affect how I think about myself, how I
Mm-hmm.
think about relationships. If I have all these balls of unresolved stuff around me,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it really difficult for me to see you, April, see the
Mm-hmm.
people who I am interacting with.
Mm-hmm.
It's really difficult for me to receive love from the people I'm in relationship with. And
Right.
it's really difficult for me to feel like I'm seen or to be able to give other people love.
Mm.
This stuff from the past is
Mm-hmm.
in my way.
Okay.
And we all know people who are just so stuck
Mm-hmm.
because of things from the past
Sure.
that they're not able to live their life today. So it's like you were just talking about that client.
Yeah.
She noticed in my life today,
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling some limitations from this stuff that happened in the past.
Right.
So with biofield tuning, I use sound
Mm-hmm.
in the energy field.
Okay.
And it's all based on frequency and resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I bring this tuning fork into, and there's a place in the energy field where there's this ball of unresolved energy.
Okay.
So when I strike the tuning fork, there's some aspect of the frequency
Mm-hmm.
from the tuning fork, it's not just one note, that resonates with some of the energy in this memory.
Okay.
And it activates the energy in the energy ball,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like the memory of this argument that I had with my now ex husband,
Right.
right? It starts getting
Yeah.
activated
Right.
and it brings up awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm able to look at it differently
Mm-hmm.
today
Mm-hmm.
than I did in the past. And I take this ball of unresolved energy and I make it smaller.
Okay.
That's healing.
Yes. Yeah.
Taking some of the trauma, taking the trauma away.
Right.
So that over time, I take these balls of unresolved energy in my field and I collapse them.
Mm. Wow.
So that I don't have all of this stuff
Right.
blocking me from being myself and being seen and loved in the world to, oh, I can see you
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have all this garbage from the past
Mm-hmm.
in my way.
So as these decrease, the perspective can be reframed and reshaped because now you're seeing more clearly. And it's a process because you did say it gets smaller. So it's something that you have to work with. And because it takes time to kind of reduce that thing. But as it reduces, then you're gaining a better perspective. You're able to reframe the situation. So, my client, for example, uh, 2 decades ago, if through awareness she could go, okay, well, that my body is creating this because it doesn't want me to suffer anymore. It doesn't want me to hurt. But I can choose to reframe this situation. He is now my ex. We're not together anymore. Number one, and on and on and on about how life may not be where I'd like it to be, but I can no longer see myself as the victim, because these things are starting to break down and my perspective around that is starting to shift. Is that kind of in the ballpark of, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And, then we take that to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it that, life is just relationship school.
Yes.
It's my relationships where I learn the most, I grow the most,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to give the most. So when I have relationships in my life with people who are resistant
Mm-hmm.
to growing, resistant to learning, resistant to shifting themselves over
Mm-hmm.
here,
Mm-hmm.
I work with a lot of people who have people in their lives who aren't willing to participate.
Right.
And part of my clients' growth is, how do I grow over here?
Mm-hmm.
How do I help myself manage this situation with this difficult person?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not going to change.
Right. Right.
And there's so many different ways that me over here can grow myself
Mm-hmm.
and have that person's resistance
Mm-hmm.
not affect me in the
Right.
same way anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's our tendency is to think that what's outside of us is what's causing us pain or discomfort or dis-ease, but it's how we're reacting to what's outside of us. And we don't have agency in another person's life. We can't control them or change them. And maybe that's just their path they have to walk. And if we can reframe it that way, then it's because that is frustrating to think that your happiness is dependent on another person changing what they're doing or how they behave. That's impossible, and I think when you kind of accept that and you start to like really focus inwardly, then you can start to make some real shifts. But it's very difficult to do that if you believe that your piece is contingent on this other person behaving how you would like to. But that is kind of how our world has worked. But like you said, we're evolving, and I want to talk about that too, like on an evolutionary scale. How are you seeing the future in terms of people coming into this consciousness? How is that shifting our world?
I think you probably believe, like me, that we've always trusted, assumed, believed that we are all evolving and moving to a better place.
Right.
And I believe that as that happens, everything that is dark and stuck
Mm-hmm.
has to come up
Right.
for us to be able to evolve and move to a different, higher, more evolved, healthier, happier plane where
Yeah.
everyone is successful in manifesting and having abundance,
Yeah.
we have to get through all of the gunk,
Mm-hmm.
the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to come up for me to say, oh, look at that,
Uh-huh.
so that I am able to choose how am I going to relate to this thing going on
Right.
and then move forward.
Right.
Right now, everything is up in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of the darkness, everything that's stuck, everything that's been not working very well,
Yeah.
that's been kind of hidden away,
Mm-hmm.
it's all
In our face.
in the global face.
Face. Yeah.
And it's bringing up all of the individual people's stuff as well.
Hmm. This is a very important point you're making about healing.
And it's giving us all opportunities to do our own individual healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, that's all I have any control over, right? That's the only thing I am able to
Right.
impact is what's going on over here. How am
Right.
I responding to what's happening
Mm-hmm.
in my household, in my relationship, in my work, or in the world,
Mm-hmm.
so that I am stronger, better, healthier, more clear, and
Mm-hmm.
more able to make my difference in the world
Right.
by healing how I'm responding to what's going on out there.
Right. And we can't address something that we can't see. And, it's kind of like a global detox, if you've ever done like a cleanse
Yes.
and it's very ugly for about a week and you're like, oh my gosh, like, you're breaking out, things are coming out of everywhere and it's just not a good time, but, better out than in, and I think I don't know that things are necessarily worse. I just think we see them. I think we see them, and we didn't before. And it's part of healing is getting out the bad stuff, to make room for the good stuff. And so it's ultimately, from a broader perspective, good. It's
Yes.
just it's not a good time. Like, it's not fun to go through a detox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's part of how I like to talk about this. I take whatever it is that's going on and I
Hmm.
relate it to what's happening in the physical body.
Hmm.
So let's talk about digestion.
Okay.
The digestive system takes food,
Hmm.
what I eat, it breaks it down, called digestion,
Hmm.
assimilates what's valuable,
Hmm.
and then packages what's left and gets rid of it.
Right.
So the large intestine, the colon, is
Hmm.
the part of the physical body that finishes this process with our food.
Hmm.
It absorbs what's left of the food,
Right.
mostly water at that point,
Hmm.
and then it packages what's not useful and gets rid of it.
Hmm.
It does the same thing with my experiences and
Mm.
my emotions.
Hmm. Wow.
All of the issues in life, things that happened when I was a child, things that happened as I was a young adult, things that happen now, things that happened yesterday,
Hmm.
they're all being processed by my same digestive system.
Mm.
I
Yes.
take these experiences, I digest them. What happened? What is there to learn from this?
Hmm.
Breaking it down and absorbing what's useful, keeping the lessons, what did I learn, and
Hmm.
how am I going to move forward, and then packages up what's left and gets rid of it.
Right. Right.
That client of yours we were talking about who had a previous marriage that
Hmm.
had some trauma in it,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yes.
right? Working with you enabled her to digest some of those experiences
Hmm.
and then collapse those balls of energy of trauma that were
Hmm.
actively affecting her life
Right.
so that she could get rid of what she no longer needed,
Hmm.
including a relationship that didn't work for her anymore,
Right.
and then move forward a stronger, better person.
Right.
The
Right.
digestive system participates in that process.
Yes. Yes, that makes me think about PHS and determination a little bit, about how we all digest things differently, how we handle what comes our way, and that manifests in different ways for different people. And it's the know thyself thing. It's like, let's turn in and focus on how did I digest this or not digest this situation, this food, this person, this environment, how did that affect my physicality? How is my body trying to tell me that that is not aligned for me? Or I need,
Absolutely.
yes, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's our bodies are so brilliant, and we've been taught, really conditioned to distrust our bodies and do whatever we need to do to get them to stop, when they've gotten loud like they do sometimes. And there's a place for that. I mean, there's a time when pain is too much and you need a respite, and it's understandable. We have to do what we have to do. But what is the message? What is the underlying message? And if we can really try to ascertain that through people like yourself that do this work, it can be life altering.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, because the answers are within. Absolutely. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
When I am working on the biofield, a lot of times I get emotional information.
Mm. Hmm.
Just, and very, very frequently, what comes up is child energies,
Mm.
unresolved child energies,
Right.
emotions, stuckness, confusion.
Hmm.
I know when when I'm confused or I don't know what to do or I don't know how, big things consistent for me. My inner 6 year old, she's like running around in panicked circles.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah.
Is there a part of me that has something going on that I'm stuck?
Hmm.
I'm not moving forward because this child part of me
Hmm.
is freaking out.
Right.
And I describe it that my inner 6 year old pulls the circuit breakers,
Yeah.
shuts me down. I have
Yeah.
this thing I have to do, but she's afraid. She doesn't know how. And so it's like, you're not doing that.
She wants to protect you.
Yes.
Yeah. She wants to keep you safe. And so
Yes.
she reacts. Yeah. Yeah. Because that was what she felt kept her safe, at that time where you were at that developmental phase. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to be real gentle parents to ourselves sometimes and sit the 6-year-old down and put your arm around her and tell her, hey, you know what? It's going to be all right. I
Yep.
will be right there with you, and we're going to get through this. I definitely have a lot of those talks with myself sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It, one of the greatest things that I learned was how to take care of my inner self. And
Yeah.
you as a body worker and a healing person, you know that a lot of people come in and they have no idea
Hmm.
about that perspective.
Right.
And
Right.
giving them, it's like, oh, look at this,
Yes.
enables them to start taking care of themselves better.
I notice with women in particular, and I don't know if you see this as well, that there is this shame around being selfish. If I say no to that and instead I go and do this for myself, or perhaps I don't cook this night, or I get someone else to take, Johnny to practice, and the list goes on, right? Like for moms in particular, but just women in general, because I think there's a lot of conditioning around that. Like it is somehow self-centered for me to stop and take care of myself or pay attention to my own emotions. And I think men too. I think men, it's different. They're taught, it's weak to, acknowledge or recognize that your emotions or what you're feeling, and to take time to tend to that. So we both kind of, whether you're male or female, we all have, whatever your gender is, we all have that struggle inside, that conditioning that says, this is selfish, this is self-centered. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Should being the word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of it all as a filtering and sorting process.
Mm,
Is this me or is this not me?
mm-hmm.
Does this fit with who I am or does it not fit with who
Right.
I am?
Right.
And powerful, helping people understand from a chart perspective
Mm-hmm.
how that operates because it's all part of it. It's all in
Oh,
the chart. Okay.
yes.
And also from the perspective of the digestive system in the body,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's all sorting. Is
Yes.
what's coming in something that I want to keep? Is this part of who I am? Is this part of what I want to do? Is this part of what I want to believe? Or
Mm,
is it not me? It's
right.
all sorting.
Right. Yes, and your definition or lack of definition in some cases plays a really big role with that. I think the most impactful, one of the most impactful things about learning about my design, and in particular my undefined solar plexus, was that's not my feelings. Those are not my emotions. Because when you hear emotional definition, you think, well, that's an emotional person, but oftentimes the most emotional person in the room is the person that's undefined in their solar plexus because they're taking everybody else's emotions into their body. So that was powerful to me to understand what I am and what I'm not, and to kind of wrap that in consciousness, because it doesn't mean that I'm not going to sometimes feel another's emotions, but I can differentiate at that point and say, okay, that's not mine. And a tendency, in my case, to want to people please so that they stop doing that. So I don't have to feel it. In all honesty, uh, you know, it's not my job to kink the hose and to stop them from feeling what they're feeling.
Such important perspective
Yeah.
when talking with people about their human design perspective mostly. I take that to what's the motivation?
Mm-hmm. Right.
When you are thinking about doing or saying something and it doesn't feel quite right,
Mm-hmm.
what's the motivation
Right.
for that undefined emotional solar plexus? Are you doing this to keep that person happy so they don't get upset?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes that's still an appropriate action.
Mm-hmm.
But to think about it, oh, here's this going on. I am thinking about doing this, and this is what's motivating it.
Mm-hmm.
And it still makes sense for me to do that,
Right.
as opposed to automatically running down a
Reacting.
path
Yeah.
and doing that conditioned automatic response.
Mm-hmm.
Again, one of the big gifts we give people by helping them understand their human design is to understand those drivers, those motivations,
Right.
so that me as the person receiving this insight is like, okay, so what's right for me in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
I understand what's motivating this behavior, this compulsion.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to do that
Mm-hmm.
or not?
I love your objectivity around that, because we can get into this tendency of bad or good and blaming. And, it's not about right versus wrong. It's about awareness. I'm really, for example, I'm very uncomfortable with this person. They're having an emotional meltdown right now. And I am feeling like I want to run. But what is the best choice, not just for myself but for them in this moment? Maybe I can stay still and just hold space, or maybe I do need to uh go off and be on my own for a little bit, as opposed to I am bad because I did this or good because I did that, because it's not. It's kind of like, what is your bandwidth in this situation, and how can you take care of both primarily yourself, because you have to put on your own mask, right? We've learned that from the airlines before you put it on somebody else. It's not necessarily a bad or good thing. It's just like, how can I handle this most skillfully?
And again, it's an awareness
Mm-hmm.
and sorting process.
Right.
What's me and what's not me?
Mm-hmm.
In the moment, what is the right, most balanced, supportive thing for me to do?
Yes.
Because sometimes I still have to make compromises.
Sure.
Sometimes I still have to do things that it's not really what I want,
Mm-hmm.
but I still need to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like to have people step back, pull back from the automatic reaction,
Mm-hmm.
and think about what's motivating this behavior
Mm-hmm.
and what do I want to do.
Yes. Yeah, I think one thing I've learned from my open spleen is that slow down, slow down, because that's what if it's reactive, it's very likely Ron. It's not going to work. It's not skillful, but if it's responsive and it comes from a place of I've got to sit with this for a minute, what is the best way for me to handle this at this moment? And yeah, so it's a time thing. It's slowing down. A lot of us have in our decision making process need to kind of slow down a little bit. Otherwise, we will react. So, yeah.
And, looking at healing,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the biggest lessons that people get to learn.
Right.
Something happens, instead of reacting, it's like step back and pause
Mm-hmm.
and evaluate.
Right.
And it has people be less less reactive,
Mm-hmm.
harder to upset, harder to knock off my perch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, more
So that,
stable.
yes. And
Yeah.
I have a name for that. And I call that being responsible for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, taking responsibility
Mm-hmm.
involves being in that responsive space where you can evaluate and approach something with skill rather than panic or fear or reactivity. Yes. So, so powerful, Sandra.
Yeah.
So powerful.
And as we help people understand their blueprint, their design,
Mm-hmm.
such a powerful tool
Oh, yeah.
to help me understand, oh, this is why I
Mm-hmm.
have these compulsions. This is why I tend to react and respond this way.
Yes.
Given that that's what's being triggered, what do I want to do right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ah, makes so much difference.
It's priceless. Like really, and on a collective scale, the more we evolve into beings that are able to kind of slow their roll, and I think, we're moving in from a splenic awareness to an emotional awareness. That is the modus operandum if we want to do this well, is to kind of slow down a little bit and feel into things as opposed to react. That's going to be very important in the coming days. And I think what you do, which I just greatly admire, is you bring this sense of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That's, like when you were describing not being able to see clearly because of all of these, I don't know, what did you call them? They're kind of like blockages,
Balls of energy from the
balls
past.
of energy from the past. Yeah. It impedes our abilities to see things clearly. And as those things are addressed and dealt with, then we can begin to have clarity and we can get to that space to where maybe we re-traumatize ourselves a lot less by slowing down and getting perspective and getting space when we need it or whatever it is we need to do. We'll have self-awareness over what's correct for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love the work you're doing. You also have, may I ask you about your card deck?
Sure.
Yeah, Inner Gem Shine deck. Very exciting. You just gonna grab it real quick.
So, this is a deck of cards that I created to help people when they get stuck
Oh, look at
so
that.
that they can move forward with what it is they want.
I love those.
And like everything, we teach what we most have to learn.
Yeah, I definitely know that.
Because I tend to get stuck.
I do too. I do too.
You know, something comes up, I know I need to do this, but, and so I created these cards that there's body cards for
Okay.
issues going on with the body.
Wow.
There's chakra cards
Okay.
for issues going on with the energy system. And like we've been talking about, they all relate to what's going on in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's these concept cards that have a whole variety of different aspects of life to bring in. And
Okay.
so, and I've got affirmations on the backs,
Oh, wow.
and I can do, these readings. There's breathe to just like
Mm.
set the space.
Yeah.
There's water. We haven't talked about water. There's so much that I believe it is important about water.
Yes.
And then this first came to me when doing human design, when I am looking at somebody's chart and I tell them something about themselves. It's like, oh, you see me, right?
Mm.
They shine.
Oh, I love it.
Thinking about, those pictures of Jesus and he's got the halo, just like
Yes.
shining.
Yes.
When I am seen and accepted for who I am, it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's that glow that happens when people have those aha moments.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, those are all these cards. Would you like to do? We can do a card reading here now.
Sure. Yeah.
What question do we want to ask, or what focus do we want to have?
Uh, where should my focus be right now? Because I'm all over the place. So.
Okay, so where should my focus be right
Mm-hmm.
now? Oop. Oh, so the first card comes up is water.
Okay.
So flow with it.
Okay. Just go
And
with.
I think that that's part of what you do anyway.
Yeah.
I release stress.
Mm.
Water nourishes me. Body is 70% water.
I'm really bad about drinking water. I mean, and I have structured water. I'm just really bad about it. I would rather drink, coffee or tea or something else, but I do forget to drink water. And
And then the next card that comes up, again, thinking about what it is to focus on right now, is attract and manifest.
okay.
I attract my perfect opportunities.
Love it.
I manifest my dream.
Hmm.
I speak and manifest. I set intentions and allow them to manifest.
Mm.
My daily practices attract success.
Mm.
So it's like thinking about what it is you want to accomplish, what it is you want to do.
Yeah.
How are your daily practices attracting the success that you want?
That really does resonate, that because that is something, routine and ritual is something that I do for a little bit and it falls by the wayside. And I feel like I've been getting that message that I need to kind of be more structured about making sure that I don't forget to do certain things on a daily, because I can squirrel real easy. So,
Me too. And that's actually why I created the deck,
okay.
because it enables me to do a layout and have
Mm.
it out on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, that's what I'm focusing on.
Okay.
So that I remember to do the things that I know are beneficial for
Mm.
me.
I love that.
Being experimental.
Yeah.
We're both threes, right?
Yes.
It's like there's this tendency to squirrel
Jump. Jump
and
to the
just to
next thing.
jump all over the place.
Yes.
And sometimes we would benefit from having more of that five,
Hmm.
that routine, that,
Yes.
energy. Um, I don't have that in my chart. The five energy is not there. So it's
Well,
like, I tend to struggle with it too. So,
it's a hanging gate for me. I've got it, but I notice the inconsistency and I'm like, and I will do good for a good period of time. And then something, like I said, a squirrel goes by and out the window it goes. And so, I'm trying I feel like as I'm growing older, it's getting easier to be a little bit more in a routine, but it's still a big struggle for a line three, because there's just so much that interests us all the time. So,
well, so now we're talking about the chart a little bit and how I can have conflicting experiences
mhm,
of this energy.
right.
April's talking about having the gate five defined in her chart doesn't necessarily mean that she's always got this routine stuff handled.
Right.
But it's an issue.
Yeah.
There's life issues and struggles sometimes with it.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see if another card can help us have some
Okay.
guidance with that. And again, this is just by chance. Woo!
Okay.
Crown chakra.
Ah.
How does guidance come in to help you know it's right?
Yes.
I am receptive. I receive wisdom and inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
I am divinely guided and connected.
Mm.
I am one with all that is.
I love it.
I think of you as really operating that way.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, I
just
definitely, that is my goal.
yeah,
Some days are easier than others, but yeah, that's definitely kind of my central focus. So
yeah.
love it.
Now another card fell out of the deck, and I'm going to go get it. So, but
Okay.
shoulders.
Mm,
I manage my responsibilities effectively.
hmm
I maintain a healthy life balance. I release the pressures of stress from my shoulders.
mm. Yep. Yep. That's the area. I take on probably what's not mine a lot. So
Yeah.
oh, that's
So
good.
these are fun.
Thank you. And
Oh, you're so welcome.
how can people find those? Do they go to your website?
I have a website, innergemshine.com.
Okay.
It's a new website just for the cards.
Exciting. Okay, so
Yes.
people can go there and they can order that deck.
Yes. It's available both physically like this,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a platform called Deckable
Oh.
where they can get a digital deck.
Oh, that's nice. That's
And
really
I
great.
don't have the full deck in Deckable. If somebody
Okay.
wants a full deck, then they actually need the cards. But it's nice to be able to have it like on the phone or the iPad,
Oh yeah,
to be able to do it, on the run without having to have the cards.
that's
So
wonderful. So, give me a quick overview of your contact information. So if people are interested in your services.
thank you. My website is miracleinspirations.com,
Okay.
and they can reach me at Sandra at miracleinspirations.com.
Okay.
And I also have a free gift that's going to be available soon,
Mm.
um, to talk about um, client attraction magnet.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I've got a secret key
Nice.
that I
Giving
share
us
with you.
a little
That,
heads up. That's
yes.
awesome.
So I was
Wonderful.
just working on it yesterday, so it's going to
Okay.
be available soon. So that's going to be available from my website, um, at miracleinspirations.com/subscribe.
Okay.
Not quite ready yet, but soon.
That's very exciting, Sandra. Well, she is amazing. I think life opportunity catalyst fits you quite well. Um, and I'm so grateful that we got this opportunity to chat today. And to our audience, please reach out. She's just has a wealth of knowledge, covering a vast variety of subjects. And, she can probably help you in many areas of your life. So, Sandra, thank you so much for coming on today. And I will put all of the relevant information under this video and audio. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and my Substack. So thanks everybody for watching today. And thank you, Sandra, once again for coming. This was a pleasure and I enjoyed it immensely.
Thank you so much, April. So much fun.
You're welcome. We'll see you again soon. Let's do this again soon.
Yes.
Okay.